Hello, everybody. It is me, Empress Gattusi, and today we're here talking about Moon Knight Episode 3. Alright, so before I get into the spoilers for Episode 3, I'm just going to warn you right now, before the spoiler warning, or before we get right into this, that I'm kind of pissed off with this episode. I'm probably just heated right now, and maybe later, once I cool down, I'll be better, but for this episode review, I'm just gonna go right into this. So, if you haven't watched this episode yet, go and watch it. And if you just want to hear me talk about it, then you can stay and hear me talk about this. Okay, so Moon Knight Episode 3 is the most filler, the most conflict for there to be conflict, the most idiotic, stupid thing where everyone is just stupid, pretentious little dum dums, little dum dum gum gums. I just want, God, this. All right, so I'm just like, God, why is just everything fucking Ethan Hawke cult leader Arthur Harrow? This guy is the most master manipulator that just has everything go right for him, and then everything just goes wrong for Mark Spector and Layla in this episode, and Khonshu. And I have no idea what Khonshu's plan even is, because it seems like from the conversation with the whole entire things where we met other gods. At first, in my head when I was watching this episode, I thought with the other gods that there was going to be more than just Egyptian. But then it came back to me being like, oh yeah, this would just be Egyptian gods. And we saw all of the avatars in like a meeting that they had. But I like how Khonshu apparently had a plan which made him get on the bad side of the gods because of like him doing something with Amet. But then apparently Harrow cult leader also wants to do something with Amet, but apparently he wants to release him. But then I guess does Khonshu also want to release Amet? Like what type of correlation is going on there that has him have all of the gods listening to this guy that just fakes emotions and ends up crying during the whole judgment thing that Khonshu and Mark tries to do? But that scene was pretty funny with showing Khonshu talking from Mark's body. That it's just this Oscar Isaac just yelling in like a voice that's similar to the voice that Khonshu has, and just yelling, and he's like, it must. I guess Khonshu's power must be super strong. We also saw in the episode where like he ends up having like making a display apparently for Khonshu to call upon the gods. He needs to change the fabric of reality. He like makes like a lunar eclipse happen by having the moon go over the sun. And later on this episode, he ends up changing the constellation, and he can change the sky to a sky from 2,000 years of the past. That's some power right there. Forget to have judgment happen. But most of like the stupid stuff is just every single time it's just no communication. Everyone has this. Like, I feel like at this point in our time and in our stuff, whether it be in fiction or in books or in our reality, communication. That's what everyone needs. All you need to do is just talk. Just talk to people. Once you talk to people, everything will be good. Everything will be okay. But since everyone's keeping it so tight knit, oh, it's just all tight. It's super, super tight within our hearts. But then you just need to get a little bit of release, so you just need to talk. But then everything needs to be so difficult. And this episode just seemed filler to me. It just seemed like something just beat down the guy, beat down the enemy, and then right now, just to go to the end of the episode, because Khonshu ends up getting sealed by the other gods because of his lunar eclipse helping Mark with like this Tomb Raider fucking star constellation thing with Layla, and then he ends up the Khonshu because he's changing the sky from 2,000 years of past for them to get the perfect constellations for this side quest for in order for them to do hibby jibby. Who even knows what this tomb from this god or this character would even do to even help them out, if it even takes them to like I guess maybe the true coffin. I have no idea what. I mean, I need to watch this episode. I have no idea what they were even doing with this coffin in the first place. All I know is that one of the gods, a female god, apparently one of the gods is on Mark's side slightly, and or I guess the human got information from the god because I guess the god likes Khonshu, and she's like the god of music that liked hanging out with I guess Khonshu, and Khonshu like listening to music. But then since Khonshu got expelled from the gods a long time ago, he just doesn't talk about any of them. He just is a loner. And then the beginning of this episode, to go back to the beginning, I'm going all over the place again, just like in my last review. My last review, I went crazy, just going all over the place with all of that shit. The beginning of the episode made us go that apparently Mark and Layla are guests, even though that they're married and that they got with each other until stuff happened with Mark, with him dying and him being made an avatar and him having this split of personalities. I guess there's also a conversation at them in the episode with the cult leader that apparently he also had his mind messed up. I guess Khonshu, out of all of the gods, is the most powerful guy that when he wants to have an avatar, it messes up their brain somehow. So even though that even though like in the last episode, like I guess Khonshu also just said that who knows if who knows if Mark was already broken before he got Khonshu in his head, or if that was something that he already had. But I guess Ethan Hawke's character was also got beat down somewhat in the head in order for him to be blistered and blistered until he had to like denounce from being an avatar and then chose Met as his avatar. At the beginning of the episode, we find out that apparently Layla apparently had her father killed, and that's why she's doing all this stuff with Mark and finding the Egyptian, like relics and doing all of this stuff. And that she also, like, I guess, has a grandma or a mom that helps her with like forging her identity and also helping her with the black market and stuff like that. That's a pretty cool, I guess, character backstory and background for us to learn more about Layla in this episode and have her doing it. There's parts in the episode that I find very difficult with Layla because I'm the same level of Steven's like frustratingness is the same with Layla's, where because Layla doesn't have enough information, she treats Mark like shit and this ruins things. Or I guess she doesn't ruin things. Maybe I'm just being dumb. I'm being a dumb too. But then Steven messes up things because he like wants to like be in control and he wants to have just a regular life without Mark ruining the small moments that happened in the first episode and like when we saw Steven's like life and seeing stuff from his point of view. But then as soon as Mark wants to go on this journey to do these things, Steven just wants to take over the body and then gets him to leave. Like he even takes over at one time point at the beginning of this episode where Mark is chasing after these goons that killed like an informant that he had, but then he needs to of course beat up these goons in order to get the information. So then he tries to like beat them up, and as he's about to like slice a guy's head off, Steven takes control, runs away from the bad guy, takes a taxi to the airport, just trying to get away from Cairo, get away from Mark's mission. But then that's stupid and that's frustrating, and he's making things difficult. Then somehow, once Mark towards the middle episode, once he gets to that tomb, somehow he gets Steven on his side. I guess Steven gave up because I guess Mark did say that people will die if he decides to be a pussy, a little bitch. Come on, Steven. It's like he doesn't have a brain. No one has a brain, and they're just being idiotic this episode. The only person who has a brain is the bad guy, doing the bad guy stuff and being a master manipulator and just having everything go his way. He has this artifact. He can like find a Met. He finds a Met. They're digging her out in order to summon her, and then to have hell rain, blood, blah blah blah. Maybe there's gonna be alligator monsters. Maybe there's just gonna be more fucking jackals all over the place, just killing people and heating people up. There's also a point in this episode where like he chases after the goons again in order to get the information again once Mark takes back the body from Steven, but then he ends up going into the state where he rolls his eyes to transform, but then he ends up appearing far away outside of town, killed two of the goons but not a kid, because earlier in the episode when I mentioned like how he tried to, because they killed his informant, he had to like torture them in order to get the information. So then one of the guys that he ended up leaving behind later was a kid, because there was a kid a part of the group that he didn't want to kill or hurt. Same thing with the regular guys, but then he doesn't want to like kill the kid. But of course, because the kid's mind controlled and in that influence in that culture, he needs to like, they just call him stupid American and stuff like that. I guess they say stupid foreigner, and then like they're just trying to beat him up and stuff like that, trying to just kill him because I guess that's their reasoning because they're part of the bad guys team. When he ends up killing the two guys that he was trying to get before, instead of like not killing them, someone else took control of the body, and it wasn't Steven or Mark. So I'm wondering if that was Khonshu taking over as like another personality controlling Steven's body in order to like, get things done, or I guess this episode featured another personality, one that's more ruthless than even Mark. If it's another one, that would be crazy because he only shows up once to just make things go quicker. Maybe Conchu decided to take over in order to get done. Then he tries to like get information out of the kid because Conchu says, "Hang him over the edge," like something like Batman. I'm putting that in. That's not what he said, but it's pretty much what Batman does. It takes a guy, lifts him over in a ledge, and then says "talk" or "I'm gonna drop you." And then sometimes he drops them and catches them with the grappling gun. But then the kid just says praise Ahmed, cuts off whatever because Steven started holding him by his like shirt or by a tie that he was wearing, and then he just cuts it off. The kid friggin' commits death. And Mark and Conch were just like, damn it. And then Conchu's just like, I really thought he would talk. I really thought by you hanging him over the ledge he would talk, but I guess he didn't do it. Like God, that was wild. There was a part in the episode where Khonshu decides to do the covering the moon in order to get the gods to talk. He tries to get the cult leader in like a courtroom with the gods, and then for some reason the gods take Arthur Harrow's the cult leader's side because he says that because Mark is unwell and then has multiple personalities that they can't trust him and they need to trust him and his word and trust the way that Khonshu, like because he was the previous Avatar, not the Avatar right now, that gives him more truth and more trustworthiness than Mark. But then, of course, Mark didn't help because Mark said, I am unwell, but because I'm unwell, but then he doesn't talk, he doesn't communicate, he's dumb, he's stupid. He's just like, I'm unwell. And then he just goes and then just curls on the ground like a little baby boy, little sweet boy. Like God. God. And then after that, ends up meeting up with Layla in order to get information that Khonshu says that no, the lady that other lady avatar from another god that works with Mark tries to get him to find like this sarcophagus that has information that has a celestial thing that can help them. And then they end up in this whole side plot with them getting together, and then they try to Mark and Layla try to reciprocate. They get a little bit flirty and a little bit trying to get back with together, but then Mark ruins it, and then that just sours the mood. They try to get stuff done at this place where they meet this hotshot, like collector of ancient artifacts when people just buy things at black markets. And then they're trying to get it from him, and he's just a big bozo loser that we're probably not going to see again, but I guess he's hot. I really thought I almost thought they were going to do a subplot where that guy, the rich black market guy that they ended up finding, was going to start flirting with Layla. But then at least they didn't do that. And he's just the guy that was just, I guess Layla and him knew each other. So then he just wanted to get Mark and her to look at this sarcophagus, get the information done. But then, of course, the cult leader shows up, gets the black market guy on his side, and then shows him his power, destroys the sarcophagus, even though they can still use the sarcophagus by the end of the episode. And then he leaves after getting that guy on his side. Then he ends up like dying anyways because Mark just kills them all. And then during that battle, there's like a point where Mark and Steven change a little bit, but then Steven stops him from hurting people. But I like it how it's real. I guess they can only see each other through the mirrors because like if Steven or Mark saw what, or guess Steven wouldn't be so much trouble if he saw what Mark was doing and saw that he was only beating people up like Batman, just beating them up until they can't move and not beating them up to death. Some of them end up in the hospital, some of them don't end up in the hospital in the Batman universe. I feel like that's what he's sort of doing. I know that people don't like the Batman similarities because of their costumes, but like I'm just putting like sort of like the means to the end of what they're doing. That's why I'm doing similarities of like their tactfulness and how they're doing things. And then they end up, the funny, I'm forgetting things already. The funny scene I was talking about is how a bunch of these horsemen at the black marketplace are fighting each other and doing javelin, and they end up javeling Moon Knight in his like suit, in his regular suit, not the Mr. Knight suit, and they're stabbing him over and over again. And you just see like that like magic trick with like swords or like these javelins in Moon Knight. And then he has to like pull it out and grab people and then stabbing them with the sticks that are already in him. And of course he pulls it out once the black market guy tries to kill Layla, even though they were somewhat friends, but I guess he's on the bad guy side now, so then he ends up dying. They end up leaving and then doing this scene where Steven needs to help them because he's like more Egyptian centric as Layla is, and then like Layla and Steven look at each other like they're about to kiss so many times because I guess she like is more like in tune with Steven because he's like just nicer and he's this innocent person than Mark is this secluded, tough little boy. They end up using constellations to go back in time, like I said earlier, and then they end up because he does that. The gods are just like, "Oh, instead of just calling upon us with like a random solar eclipse, you're like messing up the sky by having it flash around and having the sky go back in time." And then the episode ends with Layla getting the information from the constellations in order for them to help them somehow. Still have no idea what that help is yet. That the hint from the Avatar lady, but then Khonshu ends up getting sealed away. Has a conversation with the cult leader before the episode ends when he's sealed away, and then he's just a little rock that's just stuck in this little like Moon Knight statue, little Khonshu statue. I guess not a Moon Knight statue, a little Khonshu statue. And the episode ends with Mark losing the powers, and he ends up passing out. Who knows if Steven and Mark, if Mark and Steven are like, if I don't know if they can switch now, or if maybe Steve is in control because he was the last person in control, or maybe Mark is only left and Steven and Khonshu are just sealed. Who knows if like he's just dead because he doesn't, because like if Khonshu is sealed, wouldn't he not be his avatar, or can avatars still exist while your god is sealed and can't influence you? Like, yes, Episode 4 is just going to be Mark as just himself. We're not going to see him in the Moon Knight costume for, I guess, another few episodes. It's gonna suck if he's just stuck as just, I guess he's just gonna be regular Mark until the last episode. Like, I have no idea what they're gonna do. I'm just like, dude, dude, we only saw him in the costume at the ending of the last episode, and then at the ending of the second episode, and then we see him in the middle in sort of the end of the third episode, and then I guess for the fourth episode he doesn't have the costume, and I guess in the fifth episode he's either gonna get the costume back or he's not gonna have the costume. In the sixth episode he's gonna get the costume. Like, like, dude, I have no idea what they're doing, but this episode just seemed like filler to me. I'm just like, dude, if the first episode was like a 7 to an 8 out of 10, and the second episode was around like the sort of same meter of being the same quality, the third episode is a downgrade of a 6. A 6 to 7 to even a 5. This shit was fucking average. But the high points make it better, so 6 to 7. It's still good, even though there was rage moments and it made me mad, a little bit tilted. But that's all I have to say for episode 3 of Moon Knight. If you enjoyed my thoughts, my opinions, and what I have explained, then you can leave a like. If you didn't enjoy my thoughts or opinions whatsoever, you can leave a dislike. That's that's what you can do. You can also subscribe to subscribe. That's all I have for today until I do a review of episode 4 or any other series that I may talk about in the future, whatever topics I may talk about. But hope you have a great rest of your day, and bye. See you later.